Good evening, everybody. I am finally a little bit on time tonight. Yay! I've decided not to. Usually before these streams, I kind of rush to get a few things handled before I start the stream, just so I don't have to worry about them and after the stream. But tonight, I just decided to take it a little bit easy, mostly because work was a bit stressful and I just wanted to. But also, just so I don't have to rush actually getting on to stream tonight. Let's see. Gotta set up the chat on my end. But, yeah, kind of an interesting topic we've got today, and I've got a couple videos for us to see how I've been goofing around on Twitter before I came on here. So, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but apparently a lot of people are leaving Goodreads for various reasons, or they just don't like Goodreads anymore. And this was a shock to me because I've always known Goodreads as like the book review website where you go and, you look up a book you're interested in, you get the plot summary and what people are thinking about it. I thought it was just that, but apparently people are starting to turn on Goodreads, and some of the videos we're going to be looking at today, I've only seen one of the videos, but it was kind of related to another topic that I covered on this channel, so maybe we won't start with her, we'll start with someone else. But I have not seen the two videos we're going to be looking at, so this is going to be a live reaction, and hopefully we could get to the bottom of why people are leaving Goodreads. No, that's not what I want. How old is this video? Alright, so this one's a month ago, and I know that, I think it's this one that's 8 months ago. So this has been a problem that's been going on for a little while. Yeah, people are looking to switch to another platform. So, yeah, let's try and figure out what the heck is going on with Goodreads, shall we?
That's so good, but I don't recommend drinking it right after brushing your teeth. Hello and welcome back to another video. I'm so glad you are here. So, I'm going to talk today about why I am over Goodreads. I'm dumping it for the new year, and I've honestly kind of already started to dump it despite it not being a complete year, which is kind of bothering me, but keeping up with multiple apps is annoying. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I agree. There's just too many damn apps for everything nowadays. I mean, some of the apps are useful, but some of them it's like, why does this exist? Or why does this need to exist? I don't know.
If I end up finishing the year on Goodreads. But I have a lot of reasons, and I also have some recommendations for alternatives. Some of these I've mentioned in the past, but I'm going to tell you exactly which one I've chosen to focus on and why. So let's get started. Okay, so I feel that for quite some time, there wasn't really a good alternative to Goodreads. It was kind of one of the only reading trackers out there.
She's talking about the reading tracker thing, but I know that there were plenty of book forums, and there's also Reddit, and also Facebook groups too. So you don't need to rely on Goodreads for that. And I just realized I paused in a very unfortunate frame of her. Sorry, book lover Laura. I'm sorry, but I would disagree. There were alternatives to Goodreads. It's just Goodreads became the main hub.
That had every book on it, that had a way to be social with people, and a lot of people who read had it. It was very easy to find your friends on it. And once Amazon bought it, it became even easier to kind of connect your Kindle books because they were automatic.
There's the problem. Amazon. I do order stuff off of Amazon. In fact, I I used some of my Christmas money to buy a whole bunch of books off of Amazon, including a compilation of all the Solomon Kane stories, because I am going to figure out what people like about that character come hell or high water. But yeah, things rarely ever go well for a website when a big corporation like Amazon buys them out. I feel like that once a big corpo gets involved, that's when things start to change. Things become a little bit more corporate and they become a little bit more plastic. So yeah, there's your answer.
Automatically connected as long as you used the same email address, and it just simplicity. It was all streamlined. But now there are so many other options out there, and it's just not keeping up with the other options that are currently available. Basically what I'm saying is it sucks. Well, it still has like an occasional feature that it's got so many books that you can pretty much find whatever you want on it, so that's good, I guess. But overall, it's just not doing...
I wonder if my books are on Goodreads. After this video, we'll check it out. I wonder if my books are on Goodreads yet.
Doing what it should be. And first and foremost, it's Amazon. And it's cool that some connections, some features work a little better because you don't have to actually physically make them connect. Like, as mentioned, with your Kindle, your notes will automatically, from your Kindle book, will automatically, like, pop on over there. But at the end of the day, like, that's such a small thing, and it's just not worth it. The interface is awful. I mean, I never really thought about it too much until I started looking at other apps, at other websites that do kind of similar things, and like, it's just not good. It's not cute. It's not pretty.
Okay, maybe this is because I have been on book forums before that have been informative to me, and I've used Reddit. I also have my own blogs. I've been to other blogs where the interface was not that great, but that's never been much of a sticking point for me. Like, I don't care if a website looks outdated so long as it has the information that I need. Now, if the site is unworkable, like the links aren't working, or every time you try to switch to another page, you get like a 404 error, then I would say, okay, yeah, this website needs a lot of work. But the interface itself, so long as you can navigate it okay, I don't feel like that's a good enough criticism.
And I mean, I've used Goodreads like heavily for probably the past 5 years. Before that, I wouldn't really keep track of my books, but I would use it to look up like book reviews and such. And like, the interface has gotten no better. It's pretty much the same exact website that I was using in 2015. So
not necessarily a bad thing.
You're run by Amazon. You have all the money in the world. Fix this. Like, so many people use this, so many people rely on it, and it's just bad. It's just bad. I also feel like half the time I'm getting error messages. And for a while, I thought that was just because I was using the app. I would say like a good 85% of the time.
Okay, I spoke too soon. Yeah, that is a problem where you keep running into error messages. So sorry about that, Laura.
I'm using the Goodreads app on my phone, which is horrible, but I was willing to like kind of cut it a break. But this morning, preparing for this video, I was looking at Goodreads and I was getting error messages on my computer. And I was like, well, if this is not a sign from the gods. So yes, it's not good. I understand that Amazon/Goodreads is a business and they need to make money, whatever, but my Goodreads page is covered in ads. And it's not even like books. I'm getting ads for purses, for like a random thing I thought of and looked up 2 weeks ago. And I get it, but it's still frustrating.
That's weird. I don't know. I figured that if anything, I get it. You gotta have ads in there. You gotta advertise some of your wares, try to coax customers into buying new things. But at the same time, people aren't going to Goodreads for ads. They're going there for, looking up book reviews or tracking your book reading progress. So that's weird. And I do agree with her one point where even if the interface does look the same, it is a little weird that even if like, oh my god, it's almost been 10 years since Goodreads has been around. Okay, this is gonna bug me now. All right. All right, Goodreads. Oh, dang. It's been around since 2006. Oh, founded in 2006, launched in 2007. So it has been around for almost 20 years. And by the way, yes, I am using my new keyboard today because I really want to. All right, well, now, since we're already searching, I am going to be... Oh my gosh, we have to... I'm not doing that. Oh no, I have a Goodreads. Oh no. Oh dear. All right. Vignettes, wide range genres. Oh boy. I don't have 11 books. What are you talking about? All right, so I've gotten a solid 3. Very short, thus forgettable. Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I'll take that. I'll take that criticism because none of the stories are meant to be taken too seriously. So I'll take that criticism. Oh dang. All right. I'm trying to come up with a next short story book, and I'm trying to see. We're looking at spoilers for what's coming up next in the video. I was not thinking about that. Yeah, I'm trying to come up with some new anthologies because apparently a lot of people prefer the short story book over the free verse poetry book, which, all right, what the people want, they're gonna get, I guess.
And I think as a consumer, I'm still allowed to have opinions on it and not being a fan of it. Even the books that they advertise on there, again, they're books that they have on Amazon, like Prime, or not Prime, First Reads and Kindle Unlimited, and it's like, could you focus on maybe tailoring books there if you're trying to sell them to me that I might actually like, because you have literally access to everything I've read in the past 5+ years. So it just feels like they could be doing better with that. And honestly, it's just pretty annoying to scroll past ads constantly. I do that enough on websites where I am not actively trying to purchase something. I don't need to be doing it on this one. One of the things that I used to love about my Goodreads page, and also about like the end of the year kind of wrap up situation, was the stats page, and like seeing different like stats about how much I've read.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
You know, pages and book numbers and authors and whatever. But I don't know if I just haven't looked at it in a while, but it really, if you want to look like over time, it really only shows you the number of books read, the number of pages read. You can sort by publication year, and then books over time and pages over time, which is really just like a bar graph or a line graph with like the up and down.
Dang, I get more of a breakdown of my Medium stats than I do with that. Wow. Yeah, that is kind of shocking that Amazon wouldn't update that. Like, I think people would be ecstatic to get a little bit more out of their usage of an app.
So unless you're looking at your like year wrap up, I know you can see like your first book reviewed of the year and your last book reviewed of the year, whatever, but like those aren't the kind of stats I'm interested in. I would like to see how many books of each genre I've read, if there is a book that or an author I've read more of, if there is how many stars was like my average rating, or what was my lowest rated book. Like, I want to see all of that stuff. I like stats. It's just, it's barely worth even looking at. That's
the nerdiest thing. I want more stats because I like numbers. I kid. That would be interesting for like especially if you're like a booktube channel. And like I will admit I do not keep track of all of the comics I've read. I know I have my blog, but I don't keep track of all of the comics I've read. So it would be cool to see, okay, what have I read? What kind of, how my average rating, my average criticism, what kind of genre do I go more towards? Because I sometimes have a hard time explaining to people what I like to read, which it's like I go with what looks cool, and I don't think I'm drawn to a specific genre. So it would be cool to have it, narrowed down for me so I can find more comics like that. But yeah, a little odd that they don't do that.
It's just not that in depth, and other apps are kind of, coming up and filling the gap where Goodreads is failing. I was planning to make a whole video about this next point, but I'm gonna just go ahead and drop it here. I am thinking I might start a online book club in January.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
And I was looking at different options. What's the easiest way to do this? And Goodreads is so bad. Like, I know that a lot of people do use this for their like book clubs with, internet groups, but I can't. I don't think this is going to be for me. It's so basic. There are so many better options out there, and I feel like that's where a lot of stuff comes down to, is it's just not competitive, and the only edge that Goodreads has is being affiliated with Amazon and kind of being the first of its kind, so that's what most people use. There's honestly, there's nothing wrong with it. It has features, but I just think other people are doing it better. So, there's that. And if you think you'd like to join a book club with me, I would love it if you would drop me a little emoji of a
one eternity
purple heart, because I do love a purple heart. So drop that down if you would possibly be interested in doing a book club on a different app.
Just in case you couldn't tell that she's a millennial.
Talk about in a little bit. And the last thing about Goodreads I want to say is that it's not all bad. I really do like their listicles when I am making, videos about upcoming releases and stuff. I use a lot of those resources to kind of see what's new, what's coming out. And, if you're looking for a very specific, genre, whatever, they have good options. They have a lot of books on there, so you can find something.
They've been around for 20 years.
Kind of something I'll still,
I'd be a little surprised if after 20 years they didn't have a whole bunch of books. They got all sorts of crap on Goodreads.
Go look at it for, but it's definitely not going to be my main source of tracking my books. So if you want to quit Goodreads, there are lots of options, and I just want to highlight a couple real quick before I get into the one I'll be switching to. So there's Bookly, which is a really good app.
Okay, so she's just going to be
more towards
it looks like she's just going to be listing off different book apps and book stuff that she is going to switch to. So I don't think we need to watch the rest of the video for that. So it sounds like, according to book lover Laura, that Goodreads just is being outpaced by other better sites. So it's not as drastic as I thought it would be. I thought they did something to seriously piss people off, but wasn't there that one author not too long ago who was leaving negative reviews for other books, specifically books from minority authors? Hold on. Maybe that's it. Yes! Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember this. Like, this chick, we can click on the video, but this chick, she basically pretended to be a bunch of anonymous people and went to different authors' pages and left negative reviews on their Goodreads page, which I guess is another downside you can have with Goodreads. There's no, like, check to make sure that this person is being truthful or honest with what they're saying. I don't know. Should we? Because it is some juicy drama.
Journey of Monarch is now available on both PC and mobile with Google Play Games. Experience more ways to play and sync your in-game progress
Come
across
on.
your PC and mobile devices. Command your lineage on a larger PC screen and lead your kingdom to
Yeah,
glory
the next
with
one
enhanced
is
mouse and keyboard
Not
controls.
20 minutes long.
And get 10% off in-game purchases when you play on PC with Google Play Games.
I don't care.
Get started by downloading Google Play Games today.
Today, we're talking about the insane controversy behind the Goodreads negative review scandal, where multiple fake accounts on the Goodreads book review website started leaving awful one-star reviews across the same handful of books, with all of these accounts leaving glowing reviews for one book in particular. The victims of this attack have come together and narrowed it down to one main suspect, who ended up creating an entire fake text conversation in order to avoid the blame. In the end, they've come forward and confessed to their crimes. And I've pulled together the entire story so you can hear how it all went down. But first, hi, I'm Austin. I make videos staying caught up on the latest internet drama and news, so if that sounds like your thing, please subscribe. Thank you so much for helping us get past 40K. I really think things are just getting started. We're on the last 2 videos for 2023, and I think we really could get
this
past
was
50K
yeah, this
by
was
the end
about
of the year. So
a
if
year
you want
ago.
to help us reach that goal, I'd really appreciate it. Today's story was sent to me by Skrill Bernard on Instagram. And the rabbit hole I went down just trying to understand this whole controversy told me that I had to cover it. And if you come across anything that you think I should cover in a future video, feel free to send it to me on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. Now, let's just get into it. This all started on the website Goodreads, which is probably the largest book review website. And everything began in June of 2022, when accounts like Sarah Dudley's popped up, sporadically reviewing dozens of books in a single day, with many getting an unfair one.
Yeah, that should be suspicious. Like, I feel like there should be some sort of moderator team where they notice that, like, an account pops up out of nowhere and starts, like, going through all these different books and leaving all these one-star reviews. I feel like there should be a system in place to, you know, check to make sure that this is a legit account, especially if it looks like that they are trying to promote certain books over other books, like, you know, review bombing.
One-star review. Similar to Sarah, in April of 2023, many other accounts like Chantel's or Emily's also started leaving negative reviews on the same exact books, with even more accounts joining in tandem by the beginning of December. However, all of this weird behavior didn't go unnoticed, because the books that were hit the hardest were those of the 2024 debut authors. In this group is Kieran J. Zhao, who, along with their peers, noticed that one book in particular was always getting 5-star reviews across all of these accounts.
Yeah, not suspicious at all. But I remember when this first broke, and the chick he just mentioned, I've seen her videos before. She mostly does videos about different like movies and how authentic they are to Chinese culture. And she got her start when she got so pissed at the 2020 Mulan movie that she became a YouTuber from that. But I remember when this first happened, and it was so bizarre to see. Like, this is some, what was her name? This is some Miss Scribe shit right here. For those of you who don't know, years and years and years ago, when Harry Potter was kicking off, like, picking up steam, and I think it was right before the 5th book came out, but there was a whole bunch of these, like, grown-up Harry Potter fans, and one fan in particular, calling herself Miss Scribe, she basically used a bunch of sock puppets in order to get to the top of the fan hierarchy, and if everything exploded in her face, basically.
This red flag became even more apparent when they noticed that all of these fake users were adding this book to the same exact 37 lists, which proved to them without a shadow of a doubt that one person was behind all of these fake accounts. And for whatever reason, that person just happened to really like Crown of Starlight by Kate Corain. In a TikTok explaining the situation,
Yeah, not suspicious at all. And that's such a shitty thing to do, to review bomb your competition. I guess they are competition, but it's like, dude, you're all creatives. All of you are writing different books, so it shouldn't really be that much of a big deal. And I'm guessing that she probably would have done okay had she not done this thing.
Zhao notes that
I had known about this for a while, but I held my tongue because the victims wanted me to. They wanted to try and resolve it privately at first, and this did not work out. They were told to let it go. I was not going to let it go.
they also include a 41-page Google Doc with evidence that includes many of the screenshots I've shown you so far. I'll link the full thing down below if you want to take a look for yourself. But so far in the saga, Kate is the main suspect for all of these fake negative reviews. And news of this was brought to Kate's editor around December 4th. And immediately, half of the accounts vanished, with Kate Corain tweeting this the very next day. Nasty surprise of the day was learning that there were fake accounts messing with my Goodreads rating recently. If you've actually read my book and want to rate and review it, that would be great, as reader interest pre-release tells my publisher that my book is worth investing in. It's kind of weird for her to say that these fake accounts were messing with her ratings when her book consistently got 5 stars and was added to these 37 lists over and over again. But she adds on, I guess this explains why my rating was fluctuating so much. If you like my book, please rate and review it. If you hated it, you're also entitled to share your opinion, but making fake accounts to manipulate my book's rating is something else entirely. I'm gonna go be sad now. At this
That sounds like a very narcissistic response to that. Like, it's like deflection there. But yeah, suspiciously, once her editor found out what was going on, magically a good chunk of those accounts disappeared overnight. Whoa! At least her publisher was holding her accountable for it. And by the way, despite the fact that I've actually watched this video before, it has been a year since I've watched it, so if I sound surprised at some points, that's why.
At this point, Zhao and other debut authors weren't very happy that Kate was painting herself as a victim, especially when the sudden disappearance of half of the fake accounts pretty much confirmed their suspicions. Later, on December 5th, Kieran J. Zhao subtweets about the situation, giving the person behind everything one last chance to come forward before all the evidence drops. However, this almost had the opposite effect, because dozens of Twitter threads and group chats were started trying to narrow down which debut author Zhao was talking about. And after the tweet went up, an associate of Kate's reached out to Zhao, saying that the fake accounts were created by a friend of Kate's through the Raylo fandom. And if you don't know what Raylo is, it's a group of...
Of course, she's from the Raylo fandom. Of course, she's from that fandom. Yeah, Raylo's, Ray, and, it's... Oh, crap, what is his name? Kylo Ren. Yeah, Rey and Kylo Ren, basically. It's a ship name, but, it's so cringe. That'd be like if I started publishing back in high school or back in my early college days, and I tried to argue, oh no, it wasn't me who was sending those bad reviews, it's just a friend I have in the Hetalia fandom, who's my really good friend who's doing it. It's like, it is that level of cringe. Like, oh my god. And by the way, that is a very pathetic excuse.
Of Star Wars fans that ship Rey and Kylo Ren. We'll talk more about them later. But this associate of Kate's sends over what they claim to be screenshots of a text conversation between Kate and the bad friend making all of the accounts, Lily. Starts off with Kate saying, "So if yesterday's nonsense wasn't enough, today I got an email that said there were a number of ratings and reviews left on my book by illegitimate accounts, which I guess explains why my rating was fluctuating wildly up and down over the last week. Also, my car is in the shop and they don't know why the battery doesn't work, but they'll get back to me when we know anything. So I'm not really holding out hope. This week continues to spiral, and I go with it. Lily replies, "What do you mean?" And Kate points her to an email from Goodreads. The screenshot of the email reads, "Hi Kate, we determined that several accounts that gave your book positive reviews were illegitimate, and we have removed them from Goodreads. It is a violation of our review and author guidelines."
Oh,
to
so they do
artificially
have
inflate book's
something in
ratings.
its
Please
place.
refrain from engaging in activity of this nature in the future to avoid being banned from Goodreads. Sincerely,
Oh my. I guess they do have a system in place, but I love how she posted this thinking that it was going to like help her case. But if anything, this just proved that she was in fact behind the account. So, oh my god, that is funny.
Reed's team. Kate adds, "Seems like the reviews were positive, but I didn't do anything." Lily replies, "Rating books high is against the rules?" And Kate says, "No, but artificially inflating a book's reviews, that's against the rules." And Lily goes on to explain how they were the one behind all the fake accounts. "The other night when you were worrying that your book would get overshown by bigger books at your publisher, I wanted to help, so I made a couple accounts to rate your book high. I'm sorry, I really didn't think it would be a problem." And Kate responds by berating this totally real friend who was just trying to do something nice. Oh my god, I don't even know what to say. I don't need you to step in and try to be nice with this. Do you have any idea how patronizing that is? How humiliating? How much damage you could have done? I'm gonna be sick. Literally gonna vomit. Someone just posted this screenshot in my writing group."
Yeah, totally real conversation. This is totally how I talk to my friends. It would have been one thing if it was, if it legitimately was either a crazed fan of hers or a super friend of hers who was doing all of this. That's one thing, because there are some people who are crazy enough to pull that. But this conversation does not sound like somebody who's talking to a friend.
Going on to share the tweet from Kieran J. Zhao. Kate goes on saying, "Please, for the love of God, tell me you weren't actually stupid enough to use the same accounts that you made to boost me to bomb other people." Well, and Lily says,
Totally real
"I didn't
conversation.
think anyone would notice." Kate replies, "I'm literally gonna be sick. I need to email my agent. This could have literally cost me my effing career. I don't even know what to say. This is such a violation of my trust and out of friendship." Lily then apologizes, saying, "I'm so sorry, Kate. I'm really sorry. I didn't think it would hurt." And Kate says, "How could it not hurt? Who the F did you go after?" They go back and forth.
Again, it's like the conversation is so off, and I can't believe she deadass thought that would work.
A bit more, and then Kate says, "Any other people you want to destroy in my name?" And Lily replies, "There were a couple other books I left some reviews on to try to make it look less obvious." Kate asks who, and Lily says, "IDK, just some other people on the debut list that I saw getting a lot of buzz. I just wanted to help." Kate replies, "This is psychopath behavior." Remember,
It
this
is
comment from
psychopath
later,
behavior.
but they go back and forth a bit more, with Kate really giving it to Lily. And Kate drops a paragraph that reads, "There have been very few times in my life that I've felt so absolutely betrayed by anyone. When I got that email, I was perplexed, but I guess in my..."
All right, that's enough of that nonsense. But yeah, if you want to see the full video of that, we're done with this. We are still trying to look into Goodreads. But this video by Austin Green here, very good video, and it does lay out the entire situation quite nicely. And yeah. But it was a nuts situation, and I still can't believe that people think that they can get away with this. All right. So now we are going to be switching over to Sarah Elizabeth, who also did a Goodreads video, and I have not seen this one.
after the release of the ever-so-controversial Goodreads Choice Award nominees. Remember those back in the fall? That popularity contest we all participate in? Yeah, well, that got me thinking about all the ways in which Goodreads kinda sucks. I have been ruminating on this topic over the past few months. And don't get me wrong, I love Goodreads as much as the next person. I use it multiple times a week. However, I can simultaneously love something and still acknowledge where it falls short. Off a cliff. So I wanted to come on today and start a discussion around not only Goodreads, but book tracking social media as a whole. In this video, I will specifically be focusing on Goodreads, as that's the most popular book tracking site, and highlighting the areas that could use some improvement, my suggested improvements, and my thoughts and feelings on Goodreads and book tracking as a whole. I should probably talk about this before we get into things. It's a long story. Long story short, I may have slammed my finger in a car door. It was not a pretty sight. It was literally wedged in there.
Did that before when I was a kid.
Reoccurring in every video over the next few months? No, you do not. What is Goodreads exactly? Spanning over 150 million users, this platform enables readers to find new books, track their reading, leave ratings, and read reviews. Additionally, one of the site's most attractive features, especially to today's chronically online generation, is its ability for readers to see what their friends are currently reading or interested in picking up. To quote Otis Chandler, a co-founder of Goodreads, "Our position is to not catalog your books. Our position is to see what your friends are reading or get excited about reading through your friends." So to put it simply, Goodreads is bookish social media. In theory, a 100% book-centered social media site sounds a bit...
Which, yeah, that's not... on the surface of it, it doesn't sound that bad. But, well, let's continue.
Too good to be true, but it sounds like the perfect opportunity to bring together readers from all over the internet, from Bookstagram to BookTube to BookTok, to one place for lovers of literature to connect. So why is it that the site that...
I need to do a video about Book Talk, because apparently there are some real crazies over there in Book Talk, but we'll keep going.
Is supposed to promote connection through literature makes it so difficult to do just that. Amazon. In my opinion, I'm not trying to get sued for defamation. For legality purposes, everything I'm saying today is my opinion as an avid user of Goodreads. Got that? Okay. Although the platform was initially launched in 2006, Amazon bought Goodreads in 2013. It should also be noted that in 2008, Amazon acquired another book cataloging site, Shelfari, which they then later shut down in favor of Goodreads, clearly as a way of trying to vertically integrate. And in my...
They also had that comic book app, too, which they also ran into the ground because they have literally no idea what they're doing, and they refuse to listen to the customers. Like, if I remember correctly, people were complaining about some of the features in the comic book site, on the comic book app, where they didn't like how they zoomed in to different panels, and they just didn't like the features. I don't know. I have never used that app because I typically don't trust digital comics. I prefer having the physical books myself. And if I do any digital comics, it's usually of the illegal variety. And by that, I mean I engage in piracy. Yep. Typically with manga, that it's like, okay, this looks like totally cringe, but also kind of interesting. But I don't really want to spend my money on it if it turns out to be hot garbage. So then I'll look it up on a piracy website and see if it's worth my time. And 75% of the time, no, it is not worth my time.
My opinion, control more of the online book selling atmosphere, which we'll talk more about later in the video, but at the very least control online reviewing as a whole. But that is arguably where the problem lies. If we look at Goodreads competitors, it's pretty evident that there's not many. There's Storygraph. That's about it. Storygraph is the only platform that comes anywhere near close to being a competitor. You see, no competition brings little to no incentive for improvement, leading to a primitive, underdeveloped site. Take, for instance, the logo. What does the logo tell me about Goodreads? It tells me that the site is still stuck in the 2011 prehistoric age of Instagram. You would think by now that after...
Okay, hot take, I adore the old Instagram icon. It looks super cute. Yeah, it was a little bit more detailed, but it looked so cute. But now it's so generic and boring. The Goodreads icon, though, is the exact opposite. It looks boring. It looks like in your emails where it has like the first letter of whoever is sending you an email, and it's just that generic block letter. That's what the Goodreads icon looks like to me.
After 18 years, someone would think, hey, how about we make a more modern, exciting logo that gets users excited to use our platform? But no, the face of the site is as bland as a brown paper bag. Goodreads, I'm doing y'all a little favor here. I took it upon myself to design an example logo of something that is more current. Though if you do choose to use this, I do expect compensation. Thank you very much. I want to keep the logo similar to their old one, which was kind of hard to do given that I did not have much to go off of, but I did keep the lettering style. As you can see, we have the G, which I incorporated Amazon's little swoop into, since I know Jeff likes to have that in all his logos. Then we've got the R as well. When designing logos, you want to keep it abstract, as that makes it versatile, which I did. I'm not trying to toot my...
I don't know. Looks more like a CR. Maybe she could have made the little smirky thing from Amazon a little bit more bigger to make it more like a G, or I don't know. I don't know. I don't really care too much for that design. Sorry, Sarah.
my own horn, but I think we can agree this is a much more interesting logo. Again, this is just an example. If you want to see more designs, Jeff, I am going to need to see a contract first. Emails in the description. I can't be doing work for free, okay? Let's take a look at the UI. The user interface, or software designed for human interaction.
Hi, this is Sarah in Post. I just wanted to quickly pop in and say that I'm specifically focusing on the interface of the Goodreads app. The desktop website is slightly more advanced, but since I think it's safe to assume most users use the app version of Goodreads, that is just what I chose to focus on. Okay, that's all.
Say I'm a user, and I want to go on Goodreads to see my friends' ratings and reviews. I'm just gonna open the app, okay? We have a liked update, a liked review, want to read, liked review, want to read. I'm just gonna scroll a bit, and a bit, and a bit. When users open the app, they're greeted with what I like to call the homepage of doom. Those who complain about doom scrolling on TikTok have clearly never seen a Goodreads homepage. This is the prime place to see what your friends are up to. Literally every single thing your friends are up to. Whether they have just finished and rated a book, added a book to a list, added
I
a new
hate
friend.
that. I hate when websites do that. It's like I just want to check on into like the important updates, and it's like, here, have all of the updates. Your friend farted like 5 minutes ago. Here's the update. And it's like, no. I just want to see what kind of books they're liking, or I just want to know if I'm being tagged in something. I don't need to know every single move that my friends are making. Please stop.
Like something said new friend did. It doesn't matter that you don't care to see half that stuff. Yeah, well, you're going to. The thing is, if you have more than, say, 20 people added as friends, this homepage can get crowded. And come on, it's a social media platform. People are going to be friends, which I partake in. I love seeing what y'all are up to and reading. I can stalk y'all. No. I mean, kinda, yeah. But do I really need to scroll through and see the 40 books Susie from Susanville has just added to her want-to-read list? And this isn't Susie's fault. She's just trying to find books she wants to read. What makes this homepage of doom so frustrating is that it could be fixed with a simple filtration system or similar feature that would enable you.
Doesn't Goodreads have... I know a lot of other apps do this where you can tell the interface what kind of notifications you do or don't want. Because I feel like you could go into your settings to change up what kind of notifications you get. I don't know. Maybe they don't do that.
Users to filter out what they don't want to see. I would love it if I could just click a button that would just filter out everything except star ratings and reviews, because that's personally what I want to see on my homepage. Speaking of star ratings, or better yet, lack thereof. One of the many reasons why some choose Storygraph over Goodreads is that on the former, you can leave half-star ratings. This oversight on Goodreads makes no sense because the average rating of any book on Goodreads can be that of any decibel notation, but you, as an individual, can only rate a book 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 stars.
I have been wondering about that. Like, how is it even possible that there are different like decibels in there when you're not even given that option? How do they come up with it? Or do they I don't know. I don't know.
Even if a book has an average rating of 4.6 stars. So why can't we rate with half stars? It's clearly not going to break the system, Jeff. The platform that was partially created to rate books will not let me accurately rate books. And that is partially why I keep a reading journal, to keep track of my actual ratings, which kind of defeats the purpose of tracking your reading on Goodreads, but I digress. Back to the layout of Goodreads. We've already addressed the homepage. The next tab, the My Books tab, I don't really have a problem with. I think it actually easily allows users to do what it set out to do. So let's move on to the Discover tab. As the name implies, this feature it's supposed to I'm sorry. It's supposed to help you discover new books. That's so funny. Yeah, the software in place does not reflect that. Let's see, I have a couple lists suggesting books based off of a book I read recently in my current read, which I think is a really cool feature. Let's expand on that. I also have a list of books trending with Goodreads members, which barely changes, might I add. I can also see lists featuring the most read this week, new releases this month, this year, that I might not even be interested in. How about a list of new releases curated?
I guess maybe it's because I'm such a goldfish with my own reading that I would get very annoyed with that feature. Like I said before, I'm very much of a, if it looks cool, I want to read it kind of person. I don't care if it is sci-fi, western, horror, romance, or anything like that. If it looks cool and it sounds interesting, then I will want to read it. I don't particularly want to be limited to one genre. So that sounds very annoying. Especially when there are, again, I'm just speaking more of comic books rather than books, but I find that some of the best comic book recommendations I've ever got were books that I have never even heard of before and were not on my radar at all, but they were recommended to me from either the comic book shop guy, or I read it on a forum and it's like, oh, that looks kind of interesting. It's kind of like when you go to a thrift shop and you're looking at all the different books there. There's no like, this is our top pick and da 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 da. It's very much like you get a whole bunch of crap, all of it, and even some of the most obscure titles you can even think of are there, and it allows you to look beyond your little reading bubble, which is very neat. And yeah, that Goodreads feature sounds like hell. This video is a little bit more informative.
Towards my reading taste, or maybe a list featuring books my friends have just read. Might I remind you that the original goal of Goodreads was to build a community that promoted human-to-human connection and book recommendations. However, the switch to a more algorithmic-based recommendation system, which, to give a bit of a historical context, started back in 2011 when Goodreads acquired Discover Reads, a platform that provides algorithmic book recommendations based off of what you've recently read and the trends. Think Netflix recommendations.
Corpo gonna corpo.
But for books. So basically, Goodreads bought software so that a computer could tell users what they should read, which, besides straying from Goodreads' initial goal, is not entirely a bad thing if it is done right and with users in mind. But the software has led to a stagnant Discover page that perpetuates the problem of how the people in charge, Amazon, have this control over which authors and which books get exposure. All these novels on this page are from pretty well-known authors. The people who regularly use this platform would have seen these books 100 times already on other sites. This page is essentially a popular bookish echo chamber, force-feeding readers into consuming these novels. Look, Goodreads. Book Talk already has that covered. Okay? Wouldn't it be nice if the Discover Books tab actually allowed me to discover new books? And I think Goodreads is trying to do that with this list feature. But to find more
yeah, it sounds like Reddit would be a much better way of finding new books than Goodreads, and that is sad.
list, I have to scroll all the way down and click this button at the bottom. Let's just see what happens when I do that. Oh, I am greeted with the same list that have been here since I started using the app, featuring the same books that have been on these lists since I've started using the app. I'm just going to click on the best books ever list. Okay, we have The Hunger Games, Harry Potter, Pride and Prejudice. Where are the books I've never heard of before? Here's a thought. How about when you...
Holy fuck, that sounds annoying. That sounds very annoying. Holy crap.
users refresh the Discover page, new lists appear, promoting new books, diverse books, curated towards the reader. And this is not like a grand new...
Ooh, I just thought of something. What if let's say you're more into like the disturbing kind of books. Like you are into either horror books that are really disturbing or get under your skin, like The Road by Cormac McCarthy, which I've been told is like super disturbing. Or you're into like more passionate romance books. Then the generic book review system won't work for you because your reading tastes are already outside the norm in that sense.
Idea. This is literally what Instagram does, TikTok does, any social media site. Goodreads, this would not only help you improve the Discover feature, but it would also increase engagement, which is what all social media conglomerates aim to do. Now, this does dive into a whole other discussion around the ethics of surveillance capitalism, but I'm not saying Goodreads should track you to recommend books, because if I'm not mistaken, which I'm not because I literally checked, when one creates a Goodreads account, you're prompted to choose which genres are your favorite. So Goodreads,
I hate that feature too. I mean, it helped with Twitter trying to get connected with the comic book people, because the comic book people have definitely helped me a lot when it came to creating my own comic book and also boosting or just finding new stuff that looked cool. But I hate it when a site basically forces you to pigeonhole yourself into a specific thing, and it kind of keeps you from discovering new things as you get to know the site more. It's very annoying.
about we use that information users have already supplied to you to recommend them books. Allegedly, Goodreads is already doing that, but I don't believe that. With how the software is set up right now, it's hard to believe that. I would also love to see reoccurring lists featuring solely indie or POC authors. The lack of diversity in publishing is still a very present problem, and these stagnant lists are not helping with that.
I would disagree. I would disagree with that a little bit, because publishers are basically falling over themselves to diversify their lineup. But I will agree that a lot of indie stuff, and I mean proper indie stuff, is not pushed forward as much as it could be.
Another reason why I think the Goodreads recommendation tool kind of sucks is that I just think they're ads. Allegedly, okay? I'm getting into a bit of a conspiracy theory right here.
Oh no, they are definitely ads. It's Amazon. What the hell are you talking about?
Hear me out. Because according to Goodreads, if you change your settings to not show interest-based ads, you will, and I quote, still see personalized recommendations and other similar features. So what I'm hearing is Goodreads is getting paid to recommend me certain books. Where those human-to-human book recommendations we were talking about earlier? Now.
Geez, at that point, yeah, you might as well just go back to Reddit. Damn.
I can also see the argument that the dated overall design is supposed to elicit a sense of nobility in academia, since this is literally giving Stone Age library search engine. And I don't want to speak for everyone, but I'm fairly certain people would rather have a system that actually does what they want it to do. Like any social media, Goodreads is ultimately a business whose goal is to make money. They do that through direct advertising opportunities with publishers, such as those emails you receive that showcase new releases, but also through giveaways, ads, and affiliate links to retailers, which they then in turn earn revenue from. What I find particularly interesting about Goodreads that differentiates itself from other social media sites is that besides the authors who indirectly make money through people buying their books, the only other person making money is Goodreads itself. There are no influencers or anything like that, which, might be a good thing. I think it's just an interesting thing to note. From my research, it's pretty evident that Goodreads is not making much money. After paying their employees, there's not much left over. But still, Goodreads is up and running. Why? Because it's an effective marketing tool for Amazon. I think this quote I found...
Oh, that's sad. Basically, your entire existence is just being a commercial for your big daddy corpo.
from an interview with Otis Chandler perfectly sums up the overall business objective of Goodreads. The direct income of Goodreads isn't as important as it used to be. Now it is more of a pipeline to push avid readers towards purchasing books on Amazon. It is an incredibly valuable bank of data for Amazon to have access to and to be able to send Amazon-specific ads on. Goodreads likely brings in a decent chunk of Amazon book sales. So although Goodreads on its own is not bringing the moolah, it is indirectly contributing to Amazon sales. So Jeff, may I suggest, just a little suggestion here, reinvesting some of that money into redesigning your platform. It might even help you sell more books. I think a whole other video.
Oh, they are not even going to bother. Unless Goodreads spontaneously makes like a couple more $1 billion in the next year, they're not going to bother.
Could be made around Amazon's presence and publishing and how they, from an outsider's point of view at least, are trying to monopolize the book industry as much as they can. For example, if we look at everything book related Amazon owns, we have Goodreads, the bookish social media site, which, as I previously said, helps Amazon sell books. We have the Amazon site, which amongst many things is a book retailer. We have Amazon Publishing, Amazon's publishing house, which is
That's
different
what I
from
do.
Kindle Direct Publishing, which allows independent authors to distribute books electronically. Let's not forget about the Kindle, though. Amazon's e-reader. We have Kindle Unlimited, Amazon's e-reading subscription service, Audible, Amazon's audiobook subscription service, and then we have Amazon book clubs, which encourage customers to buy and read books via their book club. We also used to have the Amazon bookstore, RIP. Look, I'm really harping on Amazon today, but
Didn't Borders accidentally sell themselves out to Amazon? It was either Borders or somewhere else. And it got to the point where if you tried to click on a link to Borders, it directed you immediately back to Amazon. So that's interesting.
I gotta give credit where credit's due. The Amazon bookstore was amazing.
Why did they have to close the one thing they had going for it?
One of my favorite morning routines was going to the Georgetown Cafe, getting a coffee, a gluten-free pastry, and then walking over to the Georgetown Amazon bookstore. The actual store was always so nice, like on par with Barnes & Noble. Sadly, Amazon has shut down their bookstores in favor of their grocery market and department store concept. And I get it, if something's not working, Amazon's going to shut it down. But at one point, Amazon bookstores were a thing. I think they should have, invested some more money into developing their bookstores, especially, in the heights of the publishing industry. But who am I to say? It's not like I'm majoring in business or anything, just minoring in it. So all of this is to say that clearly Amazon's goal by diving into every book-related avenue is to make money. Why did they buy Goodreads in the first place? So that they could utilize the platform to sell more books. So although Goodreads may have originated with the goal of connecting people, it is now just to sell books. That's it. I also want to highlight sometime in this video that Goodreads has recently been deleting ratings and reviews, which I understand doing.
Ooh. That, depending on the reason, that can be good. Like with that one chick who was intentionally going around and review bombing other people's books so that she can sell more of her own stuff. But ooh, that's not good.
If someone has never read the book, but they have been silencing actual reviewers who have read the novels, and when this has been brought to their attention, they have taken no step towards fixing that. Haley Hughes made a whole video about this, which I am going to link in the description, but after watching that, it became pretty clear that Goodreads does not care about its users, and they seriously need some internal rework. Alright, our next topic is not directed at Goodreads, but rather at any book tracking social media site. That is book tracking social media healthy? Now, this is a very nuanced topic that doesn't have a right or wrong answer, but I think this is important to keep in mind when using these apps. What is innate with any tracking platform that also doubles as a social media site is comparison among users. This, for some, could actually be a good thing and be the motivation they need to reach for that book they've spent their hard-earned money on, rather than for their phone to scroll on TikTok. But for others, this could lead to unhealthy behaviors and feelings of inadequacy.
I can definitely see someone with an addictive personality using a book tracking site to basically be competitive and to push themselves in an unhealthy degree, because people with people with addictive personalities, they will find something to be addicted to and they will latch onto it and they will ride that dead horse until it is fully rotted. And yeah, I can see her argument there. I mean, the book tracking aspect I think could be fun, but yeah, I can see how it can become unhealthy.
Most people know by now that the ideology of how many books one reads or how fast one reads equates to one's intelligence level is not true, but I think this is still a shared belief of many people, even if it's just on a subconscious level. The practice of tracking can be especially unhealthy for people with addictive personalities, and I've had firsthand experience of getting sucked into the addictiveness of Goodreads, of wanting to constantly update my Goodreads reading progress. Every time I'd put down a book, I would update what page I was on Goodreads because, ooh, did seeing that progress increase feel good. I may not have wanted to read at the time, but getting to update my Goodreads gave me that dopamine kick that became my new addiction. So nowadays, in order to maintain a healthy relationship with the app, I have had to put limits on my Goodreads usage so that I now only update when I start and finish a book. I still use the site.
I think that's a very healthy way of going about it because, yeah, something like that, it can make you feel like shit, you know? Feeling like you're not reading fast enough. My boyfriend, he's getting into comic books, and he likes to take his time when he's reading a comic. He likes to fully like immerse himself in the art and all of that while he's reading. And he's even said to me, "I'm sorry, I'm reading so slow." And it's like, no, dude, fine. You are cool. Like, I get it. Some people just prefer to take things nice and slow when reading. And that's fine. It's not a sign of a lack of intelligence. That's just your style of reading.
To look at what y'all are up to and read reviews, but tracking my reading progress that closely is not healthy for me. And I still partake in book tracking because I enjoy it, and I don't think it's entirely a bad thing, but only if it is used in an analytical sense and not for unhealthy comparisons. However, Goodreads' indirect monetary incentive raises the question of whether the Goodreads tracking tool is promoting comparison among users rather than to just purely record one's reading behavior.
Oh, hell yeah.
For instance, the ever so controversial Goodreads yearly reading goal, in which users are encouraged to set a goal for how many books they want to read over the year. And if you're not on track, don't worry, Goodreads will so kindly let you know every time you open the app. What this feature does is push users to buy books Goodreads
That's a recipe for disaster.
is hoping through Amazon, which will probably be shorter novels, quicker reads, that maybe the reader is not really that interested in reading, but hey, at least it'll count towards their Goodreads goal. Meanwhile, Amazon is making bank. I'm just picturing Jeff being like,
ooh, yeah, those fools.
A feature that specifically Goodreads lacks, but really does add to this discussion, is how users can't mark novels they have reread as having reread them. According to Goodreads, you rate and read a book once. It doesn't matter that you spent a couple weeks of your life rereading an 800-page novel. It's not going to count towards your goal. This encourages readers to not take the time to savor and reread novels to get the most.
Yeah, that stinks. I know I reread comics every once in a while. Like, especially my favorite ones are my comfort comics. I'll reread them, and I consider that basically reading another book in and of itself, even though you've already read it. So that's kind of sucky.
Most out of them. Storygraph does have this feature, so this is really just another example of how Storygraph, in a lot of ways, is superior to Goodreads, especially because they don't have money-hungry monkeys pulling the strings behind the scenes. Goodreads is not just going to give up its money-first, user-second business model, and that's fine. But I do strongly believe that if they were to improve their platform, it would not only make users happy, but it could also be good for business. So Goodreads, to sum everything up, what are the immediate changes I would like you to make? An overall design update. I would love to see a little flavor, you know?
I think this is just her
homepage of Doom refresh.
closing statements.
Get a filtration system.
All right, I think that's enough of the video for that. But okay, so she went into a little bit more detail where she reiterated the point from Laura's video that. Sorry, she kind of reiterated Laura's point with that Goodreads is just being outpaced by other sites, and if Amazon truly cares about Goodreads, they would plunk a few more dollars in there to improve things. But clearly they're not, and I seriously doubt that they are going to care about Goodreads anytime in the future, just due to how, things in general are not looking good for big corporations right now. So, yeah, that's not going to happen. But yeah, she the whole competitive reading thing, the broken rating system, yeah. I can see why people are giving up on Goodreads. And I have seen a couple of other videos of how Goodreads has become kind of a cult, where people use Goodreads in order to shame people into reading specific types of books or to read more. And yeah, I don't know if I would say that is entirely Goodreads' fault. I just think that those are features that would definitely attract the more obsessive types of people. So, but got one more video that's related to Goodreads. I had this other one where the book Leah was talking about book trends we need to leave in 2024. And it seemed interesting, but I think I won't do that for now. I'll just go to a video that I have watched before, and it's kind of related to a few weeks back when I was talking about how men don't read anymore, and apparently Goodreads has a huge bias against white males. So this is Crafts with Hanny, and we're going to be watching her video now.
You should know that if in the year 2024 you are one of those people who like to blame problems on the white man, that you are cringe, you are outdated, you are old, and you need to grow up at the same time.
Preach, sister.
Hey everyone, welcome back. So today I'm going to be sitting my notes on top of my copy of Laptop from Hell, as well as my copy of the Florida Firearms Manual. So over the past few years, I've noticed a lot of videos being made every year about the Goodreads Choice Awards and its diversity/white man problem. And I just think this is just as silly as when people make entire videos criticizing the Goodreads Choice Awards for being a popularity contest. Like, yeah, that's what a choice award is. If you want to be disappointed by a literary award in a different way, I would recommend looking into and following the Booker Prize, because those judges can never seem to pick the right book. What made me...
Yeah, that's another thing I've noticed with a lot of, like, book choices. They don't seem to really reflect what people actually want. I don't know, maybe it's just me, and maybe this isn't the right comparison, but a lot of book reviewing sites and a lot of review sites in general, they're kind of turning into Rotten Tomatoes, where it's very obvious that the auteur critics or the elite critics, they rate things vastly differently from what the rest of the world likes. And it's very frustrating.
I decided to do a video on this is because I saw a thread on X about it, and it discussed the first round of nominees and how disproportionate the representation was. And there are actually a couple of groups that are overrepresented in the Goodreads Choice Awards every year, but white males are never one of them. So that X post covered the preliminary round, so I'm going to be talking more about the finalists. I did most of the categories, but not all of them, because a bunch of them have overlapping authors and books. But as for the categories I want to discuss with you, there are 80 total authors. White males nominated, let's go through it. In the fiction category, 0. Historical fiction, 0. Mystery and thriller, 2. Romance, 0. Romantasy, 0. Fantasy, 4. Science fiction, 5. Horror, 5. So out of those 80 authors, 16 of them are white men. White men make up 31% of the population, but only 20% of the Goodreads Choice Awards finalists. Also, 5 of those 16 men are gay, which is another type of desirable minority in the publishing industry, so technically if we eliminate them, only 13.75% of the finalists are straight white men. Very underrepresented. So you could definitely say that white women, on the other hand, are overrepresented, especially liberal ones, which are virtually all authors, male or female. So we are definitely
I mean, depending on the circle you're in. Like, in my spot on the internet, I'm mostly surrounded by conservative authors, but that's just me.
Lacking some intellectual, political diversity, especially considering Trump won the popular vote in November. And I would guess that of these finalists, maybe only 1 or 2 of them voted for Trump, because I had to research all of these books. I read a couple of them, and none of these authors strike me as conservatives. In fact, a lot of them are extremists, but on the left side. A significant number of the books actually do have political commentary, as literature tends to, and all of the commentary was left-leaning. Now, also overrepresented in the Choice Awards are Asians. Out of those 80 finalists, 9 of them were Asian. Asians made up 11.25% of the finalists, but in the United States were only 6% of the population. And the majority of these authors that were included were either Japanese or Korean, and these are groups known to be very well off in the United States, even more so than white people if you group all white.
Oh no, Annie, you shouldn't say that out loud. But actually, she has got me thinking. Let's see. All right. Best conservative authors. All right, so J.R. Tolkien, Georgian. Yeah, all right, so. All right, best conservative authors. Let's put in the 21st century. So, yeah. No hate to all of you guys. You all are lovely, but it's like, do we have any conservative authors in this year? Alright. So it looks like they're still gonna... Oh, okay. So top 10 books every conservative must read. Alright. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Conservative bestseller list. Okay, so there are some... yeah, this website's looking pretty. Alright, come on. Fine, I'll accept your dang cookies. Alright, so Bill O'Reilly, yeah, no surprise. Tucker Carlson. Alright, I think I've seen that guy's name before. Jordan Peterson. Oh yeah, I have been meaning to read this one, The Coddling of the American Mind. I remember seeing that article years ago, and it does delve into just how badly the American education system has failed people. All right. All right. What the hell is that? Donald drains the swamp. Okay. All right, so it looks like there are sites out there to yeah, there's some sites for you to find conservative authors out there if you'd like. We've even got a little top 10 books every conservative must read. Let me know if you guys ever want me to go over that in a future video, because I know that, well, I don't know if it's too much of my audience, because most of my audience is on either Medium or X, so I don't really know the specific political leanings of my audience, but I would imagine a lot of them are either centrists to conservatives, because I know for a fact I do not attract a lot of liberals, and I'm completely okay with that, because I've really soured on liberals the older I get. So, anyway.
People together. A bunch of the authors are, I think, international, but were included in the Goodreads Choice Awards, but I'm just talking about what their lives would look like in the United States, where we're talking about this white male problem is. LGBTQ plus people were also greatly overrepresented this go around. Now, while it is a choice award, there is definitely also an element of Goodreads, which is owned by Amazon, choosing which books they want to be in the preliminary round, and most of them are super popular books that you have definitely heard of, but a bunch of them you probably have not heard of. I would speculate that Amazon doesn't choose just the most popular books is because 49.5% of authors in the United States are male, but men of any skin color are greatly underrepresented. besides Asian men in the Goodreads Choice Awards.
I've noticed that in a lot, because I go to different book fairs, and as far as like gender differences, it's pretty even-ish. It's like 65% women versus 40 to 35% men. And so it's like, yeah, there are male authors out there. My dad is an author. But yeah, they are significantly discriminated against as far as representation goes, even though I would argue representation doesn't matter as much as quality.
Since 2010, the number of white authors has dropped down 7.48% down to 75% of authors. And you have to keep in mind that this statistic also includes non-straight people as well as Jewish authors, who are both overrepresented, sought-out minorities in the publishing industry. So imagine being
Okay, and isn't it a little fucked up that the publishing industry has a group that they gun for? Like, that's a little creepy that they're like specifically headhunting specific groups to, I don't know, like pat themselves on the back, or, you know, distract people from the fact that they do to partake in some shady business practices. Because I am convinced at this point, every single company that puts through DEI practices or stuff like that, they're hiding some shit. There was even a joke with Ubisoft when, I forget what it was. They revealed this new character who was like kind of like a hop bishonen kind of guy, and they got Polygon to write about it, and someone made the joke of, Ubisoft released a new character for Fortnite, and they got Ubisoft to talk about it. They must have run someone over in the parking lot. The joke being, usually every time Ubisoft reveals a new diverse character, they're trying to make up for the fact that they were pulling something shady behind the scenes.
a white man in this situation, right? Like, of course, they don't read nearly as much as women. And why would they when they are excluded from everything mainstream about the traditional publishing industry? And not only are they shut out, but it seems like every single literary fiction book that I pick up is about hating them. So many books are about hating white men. And that's how you get published, though. You write white-hating books for white, self-hating liberals to read.
And that is sexism. Not a lot of people are going to say it outright, but that is sexism. Talking about how horrid men are just because they are men. That is just, that's not even reverse sexism. That's just straight textbook sexism. Because, yeah, there are some crap men out there, but they're not all men. I've met my fair share of creeps and jerks, but for every creepy guy I have ever encountered, I have met 10 fantastic men, and 15 neutral men. You know, experiences where it wasn't exactly good or bad, it was just kind of a neutral experience. And if you see a problem in the world and you automatically assume that one gender is at fault, that's just straight up sexism. And because a lot of these people want to point their fingers at men, it's just sexism towards men. Plain and simple.
So I don't blame Monica Kim, who was nominated as a finalist, for pretending that Asian fetishization is a white Republican problem.
Not so much a problem. It is kind of a trend, though. Okay, I know this is not all conservatives, but the most loudmouth conservatives who are borderline flirting with, specific groups, they tend to be the ones that have the liking of someone who doesn't look like them. Let's put it that way. Now, again, that's not all conservatives. I'm saying it's the most loud-mouth ones. Think of... Well, he's kind of a bad example when it comes to this specific topic, but think of your Nick Fuentes types, where they are so, out and proud about how conservative and blah, 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 blah they are. And turns out they're not exactly the good little Christian boys that they like to tout themselves to be. Again, not all conservatives. I know plenty of conservatives, both online and offline, who are not like that. In fact, I would argue that the vast majority of conservatives are not like that, but it's those loudmouths that really give the rest a bad name, but are also very funny to watch when their downfall happens.
And it's like such a weak argument to base your book around, and it does not stand up to reality at all, but it got her debut novel published, so good for her. Congratulations on the nomination. But it raises the question for me, why is there such a big push for diversity? You would think that in theory, the publishing industry would want to represent different experiences and learn something from people who have lived through things that we haven't. And at some point, the libs decided that white men, the demographic with the highest rate of suicide, the last pick to climb the corporate ladder and live in some of the poorest communities in this country, some without internet, are somehow oppressive figures that need to be actively suppressed in.
I'm just thinking of, I used to be part of this writing group, and there was this one guy there. He was your stereotypical old kook. Like, he was very much a kooky old man. And most of the writings he shared were just like stream of consciousness thoughts he was having. But I'm not going to go into detail here. The one story that he shared with us, which was the last time I've ever seen him, because this was right before the lockdowns hit. But the last story he shared with us was so dark and so heartbreaking. And the worst part of it all, because he was talking about a very traumatic experience that he had in his childhood back in like the 1950s, I believe. And the worst part of all was, after he read his story to us, he immediately packed up his crap and ran out the door, because he honestly thought we would be mad at him for what he went through. Like, he honestly thought that we would look at him like he was the monster for what he went through. And I'm about to cry just remembering it now, because he was just such a goofy old man for the most part. And hearing him read that story, he was kind of trembling while he was reading his own story to us. And I do hope that one day he publishes that story, because the very specific experience he's been through, it was awful. It was horrible. But I also get the feeling that he's probably not the only man who's been through that experience. And I feel like if he shared his experience, maybe it could help other men not feel as alone, because men are discouraged even from sharing their deepest, darkest experiences or their traumas. So I hope he does share his story one day, and I hope he knows that none of us thought it was his fault. But yeah,
in every industry possible. And the thing is, skin color, even if when you do that, skin color can still only go so far in representing diversity of thought. If you look at white women authors and compare them to black women authors, they probably have the same opinion on everything. And they both write books for self-loathing white people. That's another thing. White women are so overrepresented in publishing, but they also make up the vast majority of readers in the United States. So it kind of makes sense that they would make up the most authors, but hopefully that changes soon. This is definitely a little controversial, but I think it's okay that we push for diversity, but that diversity should be proportionate to the population. But instead, what the publishing industry is doing is just getting women and non-white people who live in the same echo chamber writing books with the same message over and over again. And BookTube is the same thing. It's just an echo chamber of angry liberal women. And I've seen so many white, non-political booktubers get criticized for not performing this humiliation ritual of praising a book that hates on them because of their skin color.
that's a very annoying trend I've noticed. Like, you basically have to proclaim that you hate your own race nowadays. And I don't want to get like too into that topic because it is it's a topic that deserves its own video, but there are a lot of liberal white women who make a killing off of being self-loathing liberal white women, like that white fragility author. Yeah, Robin DiAngelo. I remember when this book came out, and it's like that question, why it's so hard for white people to talk about racism. It's only hard for white people to talk about racism now because it's been made into a far more touchy subject because of people like Robin DiAngelo. Because people were willing to talk about racism back in the 90s. They were willing to talk about it, and white people were willing to listen. But it's become a cult, almost. A cult to see how much you can chastise yourself. I just thought of it. So I was watching this documentary years ago about the Black Plague, and of course it was in the medieval era, so they all thought that this was like a god's punishment or whatever. So these extremists, these religious extremists, would literally go from town to town whipping themselves on the back as like a penance to try and show God that they were sorry for whatever they'd done to offend him, so that he would lift the plague and he would leave them alone. And that's pretty much exactly what these white liberal women are. They are those extremists who are constantly whipping themselves on the back to repent for being white. And it sounds fucking crazy, but that's pretty much what they're doing. I'm gonna take a little time out here and get myself another beer. I just ran out. I'm drinking a Columbus Brewing Company IPA tonight. I also had a little bit of the beer is called Home Slice, and it's a fruit sour. I know a lot of beer purists are looked down upon sours, but I feel some companies do a sour well.
There was this one time that there was this new booktuber, a black male, who joined, and he was completely non-political and seemed really cool. He had some interesting tastes in literature. I wish I remembered what his channel was. I haven't seen it pop up since, but I looked at the comment section of his first video, and there was this liberal woman who comments, "Finally, a booktuber that doesn't look like they grew up in a gated community." Like, girl, all you had to say was welcome to BookTube. We could have saved the liberal racism for maybe his second video. And something else that I've said 1,000 times, that left-leaning thought monopolizing the book industry is book banning. There are people out there bringing something new to the table.
That's an interesting take. Yeah, I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm listening to this for the first time. I don't remember half of the new videos that I watch. But that is an interesting take. I am so sorry I'm doing this with you too, Hanny. But yeah, it is kind of book banning where you're favoring liberal authors over conservative ones, and the conservatives are forced to make their own bubble. So it is book banning to an extent.
But they are not being sought out or published at the rate that they should be because there are so many people in the industry who are too emotionally immature to work with people they don't agree with everything on. Like, I implore you, if you get the chance to look at Literary Agent Twitter, you haven't seen Trump derangement syndrome. the way they have it. It's degenerative and terminal. Like, one agent reposted this post on X saying, I can't even wish Trump dies because JD Vance is so disgusting. Like, what did JD Vance do that was disgusting? These people just make up stories in their head.
I have the very first thought coming to my head. It was that one picture that was taken while he was at a flea market, and it just so happens that on one table that was it wasn't even the table he was looking at. It was like a table that was close by to the thing he was looking at. It had one of the Nazi armbands on there, and people were calling him a Nazi and saying he was attending a Nazi event. And it's like, okay, anyone who's claiming that that flea market was a Nazi event because one stand had the Nazi armband clearly has never been to a flea market before or doesn't understand how flea markets work. The flea markets work where it's basically a garage sale, a gigantic garage sale for people who are into antiques and stuff like that. And yeah, there are a lot of historical stuff there, like stuff from the Civil War, including Confederate flags and stuff like that. So yeah, in every single flea market I have ever been to, there has been at least that one stand that has at least one article of Nazi paraphernalia, and it's not because they themselves were a Nazi, it's just they happen to have it and they're trying to offload it. Either they used to be like a World War II fanatic and they have it for some reason, or maybe, I don't know, their grandpa like nabbed it off of a Nazi officer way back in the wartime and that's how they came across it. Or they were maybe a Nazi war reenactor, like they were doing one of those reenacting events, because yeah, they do dress like SS officers when they do that. But it's like, just because someone has that thing, it doesn't mean that they're a Nazi. There could be a plethora of different reasons for why someone would have Nazi paraphernalia that's outside of the conclusion that they themselves are a Nazi. Anyway.
And they're not even good ones because they're bad literary agents. You should know that if in the year 2024 you are one of those people who like to blame problems on... But yeah, so I'm really hoping that we see that there has been a shift.
Oh, what was that point she was about to make?
In this country, politically and socially, that, Trump won the popular vote. Okay, like hating on white men and blaming them for everything is over. Calling Trump racist is over because it wasn't white men that won him this election. I really hope that there's going to be a shift in the arts as well, in how things are represented, that it's not taboo to be politically conservative, be religiously conservative, to be America first. Like last year, I think there was a book nominated for the Goodreads Choice Awards that had it was an English language book that had just pages and pages for no creative reason, just entirely in Spanish as a political statement. And that's absurd. Like, there should at least be a good reason why you're doing that in a book. But I think it's really time that we make things more proportionate and bring in diversity of, let's say, class, of experience, of political opinion, like I said, because that's when interesting discussions are actually going to start. Not just, a white woman writing a book on discovering what racism is, and then we have another book by a black woman talking about racism.
Yeah, the racism conversation has just been done over and over again. And the whole, maybe the culture is shifting. The culture is already shifting from what I can tell. Because I think all these companies have been banking on, we can get away with our stupidity forever and ever and ever. And I think when Trump won a second term, and he overwhelmingly won, that was their wake-up call of, our audience isn't nearly as liberal as we thought they were, huh? We should probably walk some of this stuff back. And it's like, yeah, you should walk it back, because it never should have been that political in the first place. And I would say that if it were the other way around, too. Like, I would not want everything to become basically a chick track. So it's like, can we please just bring things back to a more apolitical area and just make good stuff again? Please?
needs to be more than that. We need to mature a little bit. We need to expand our minds. And so I'd love to see if next year, with a Trump presidency, and the people have spoken, right? That is another popularity contest that Trump won the election. He won the popular vote, he won the Electoral College, and so I'm hoping that we are going to see a shift in the industries, and maybe the Goodreads Choice Awards next year will more accurately reflect the consensus of opinion in this country. The Goodreads Choice Awards winners have been announced, and one white male did win, and his name is Stephen King. Thank you guys for watching.
Gotta love when...
See you in the next one. Bye.
Gotta love when those indie authors are finally recognized for their hard work, huh, people? Gotta love when... Oh, no. No, you don't. We're done with that. Alright, that's enough about Goodreads. I think we have a full picture now of why Goodreads is going down the tubes. But I have a few, miscellaneous funny things that we can discuss. And this post has been on my timeline, several times over. So, for context, on X, this account called Librarian Mama posts, "Oh, you've never read the Odyssey? Your timing is perfect. Emily Wilson's translation is the best one in literally ages. Has that sweet iambic pentameter to give it a bouncy feel and makes dude bros cry that the classic has gone woke." And you can see that this woman, she's definitely a liberal. But what I found particularly funny was something that John A. Douglas posted was this. "What the hell is this happy horse shit?" So this is a comparison to another translation, Robert Fagel's, to Emily Wilson's. And how about I just read Robert's both of their sections fully through. So we'll start with Fagel's. "Sing to me of the man, Muse, the man of twists and turns, driven time and again off course, once he had plundered the hollowed heights of Troy. Many cities of men he saw and learned their minds. Many pains he suffered, heartsick on the open sea, fighting to save his life and bring his comrades home, but he could not save them from disaster, hard as he strove." And now for Wilson's translation. "Tell me about a complicated man, Muse. Tell me how he wandered and was lost when he had wreaked the holy town of Troy, and where he went and who he met, the pain he suffered in the storms at sea, and how he worked to save his life and bring his men back home. He failed to keep them safe, poor fools." So, Wilson's is more contemporary, but when I think of something that's more bouncy and more something that's more poetic, Fagel's definitely has it. And his feels like it seems like a more faithful translation. Obviously, I don't speak Greek, so I can't tell you that. But Wilson's feels like the those books of No Fear Shakespeare, those No Fear Shakespeare books. That's what Wilson's translation feels like. Wilson's translation feels like trying to simplify the text so that a teenager can understand it and know it. But the thing is, yeah, you can get the general plot of what's going on. However, you're missing what makes that text beautiful and what made it poetic and what made it stand the tests of time for so long. And look, I think it was 2 weeks ago when we talked about the whole Jello apocalypse situation when he decided to change the translations for a localization of an anime. and he was saying that he fixed it. Look, if you thought weebs were anal about translations, weebs have nothing on literature and history nerds when it comes to accurate translations. Literature and history nerds find it a grave sin when a company goes with a poor translation of a text that they love dearly. And so I am amazed that Wilson got away with what she did, because she clearly tried to modernize the text, but the point is it's an ancient text. It's by definition not modern and not something that needs to be modernized. And people appreciate the older text because they appreciate how our ancestors talked back then, how they expressed themselves back then. Obviously, they didn't talk like us. They didn't have the same jokes or puns or flowery language that we would use today. And it is nice and fascinating to see how our ancestors told their stories and how they expressed themselves. So to take something that our ancestors made and to bastardize it to make it more contemporary or for modern audiences, it's honestly not just an insult to history, but it's an insult to our ancestors to bastardize their words so badly. So I don't know if I have much else to say on this particular story, because everyone has already thoroughly ripped Emily Wilson to shreds for what she did. Let's see if this one particular thread that, I probably need to, boop. Yeah, trying to make it for more modern audiences. She can't create something. Alright. Oh, that's an even bigger one. Yeah, I guess Robert Fagel's wasn't the first one, but there have been other ones too. I'm gonna bookmark this for later, but yeah, it's like, yeah, and you can argue that maybe Robert Fagel's probably summarized it a bit in himself, but it's like, oh my god, Librarian Mama. Thank you, this is a great example of style differences between translations. No, she is willingly trying to force the text to be more contemporary than it is. This is like if someone decided to do a modern translation of the Bible and made it contemporary. And it's like people would throw an absolute shit fit if someone did that. And I'm glad that the classical nerds are holding their ground here. Alright, where is it? Is it in here? Nope. But yeah, people are making the same point. They're pointing out the same exact thing that... Oh. The Coen Brothers translation. Yeah. Brother, Where Art Thou is a very fantastic film. Give it a watch. But, anyways, to close out tonight's stream, okay, so for context, earlier I was trying to figure out a way to either contact Michael Moorcock or contact whoever holds the rights to the Elric series, because I do want to be able to read Elric on stream for you guys for the Slowdown Sundays. And while I was searching, I found this list of writing tips for good storytelling from Michael Moorcock, and I thought it would be fun to look and see what he says. Alright, I wish they didn't cut this in half. Alright. Number 1. My first rule was given to me by T.H. White, author of The Sword in the Stone and other Arthurian fantasies. Ugh, that's a harder word to pronounce than I thought. was read. Read everything you can lay your hands on. I always advise people who want to write fantasy or science fiction or romance to stop reading everything in those genres and start reading everything else from Brunt to Bayet. I probably butchered those last names, and I would agree with that. That's like the number one piece of advice that most authors give. And yeah, you can't exactly build when you don't even know what materials you're working with. All right, number 2. Find an author you admire. Mine was Conrad. And copy their plots and characters in order to tell your own story, just as people learn to draw and paint by copying the masters. That I agree with too. When I was a very, very, very little baby author myself, and I was still posting my stories on DeviantArt, I looked up to Edgar Allan Poe at the time, and I tried to copy him as much as possible, and the results were as you would expect. Number 3. Introduce your main characters and themes in the first third of your novel. Oh yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I'm a little annoyed by those stories that don't make their themes or even their main character. Like, some stories don't even introduce their main character until like at the halfway mark or little past the halfway mark, which is very annoying. But it's like, if you can't tell me who the main character is and what the book is about in an elevator pitch, then maybe you should rework your story. All right, number 4. If you are writing a plot-driven genre novel, make sure all your major themes / plot elements are introduced in the first third, which you can call the introduction. I think that's basically just point number 3 again, but okay. All right, number 5. Develop your themes and characters in your second third, the development. Okay, so it's like you introduce the themes in the first third, and then you develop them a little bit more in the second third. I can get the logic behind that. All right. Resolve your themes, mysteries, and so forth in the final third, the resolution. I think I would make that addendum there if you're writing a series. It's like maybe each book in the series can have its own theme, or it's exploring the theme in a different way. But I think you need to have some wiggle room, or at least like some opening of the door, just in case you're writing a series. But if it's like a one-shot book, then yeah, I agree. All right, 6. Resolve your themes, mystery... Oh, wait a minute, I already read that. 7. For good melodrama, study the famous Lestrade master plot formula, which you can find online. It was written to show how to write a short story for the pulps, but can be adapted successfully for most stories of any length or genre. Oh. I think I'll check that out a little bit later. All right. If possible, have something going on while you have your characters delivering exposition or philosophizing. This helps retain dramatic tension. Okay. So, okay, I think I see what he's saying. Like, have either an action going on or some sort of other plot point going on while expositioning. And I do agree with that, especially when it comes to like comic books or movies, because if you're just having a bunch of people sitting, staring at each other and philosophizing at each other, that could get very boring very fast. All right, 9. Carrot and stick. Have protagonists pursued by an obsession or a villain, and pursuing idea, object, person, mystery. Okay, that I think that's a pretty decent point. And finally, number 10, ignore all preferred rules and create your own. So, nah, don't do that to me, Mr. Moorcock. Don't do that to me. I do understand that the masters don't like telling new authors what to do or telling new authors how they should approach a story. But at the same time, the reason we're asking you about these rules is because some of us, either it doesn't come naturally or it's never been taught to us. Especially with modern educational systems that's more focused on like making sure you pass the SATs good, and it's kind of it shunts creativity to the background. So it's like we need you to tell us this. We need your guidance, please, oh master. But anyway, I think these are some pretty solid tips. I'll put a link of this in my description there. I need to start linking the videos to my streams too. Oh, all right. But anyway, I think that is a good amount of time for a stream. Thank you all for watching, and I shall see you